Welcome to House Wolves, the Pet Dog Collective. Today, I'm really pleased to welcome to the show Michelle from Chauvet Grooming. Michelle, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself for those that don't know you yet?
Yeah, I am a groomer. I wouldn't classify myself as a full-on trainer, but I do dabble in training as well. But I've been grooming for just about 20 years now. I think I'm hitting on my 19th year, so it's been a long time. And I originally got into grooming like fresh out of high school, something I fell into, and then something I soon fell in love with. And ever since then, I've opened up a business. I have staff. I run another business. With our training, and it's just exploded over the last, I want to say, even 6 7 years or so. But it's a labor of love. And I'm really proud of where we are now, and I'm looking forward to like how we move forward from here. But yeah, it's basically, it is what it is. Being a groomer is it's a lot of commitment.
It is. I
It's a
cannot.
gig, but it's very rewarding, as well as has its ups and downs. But yeah, it's a good gig.
So,
Very.
as a as a trainer, I find a lot of clients don't know about grooming, and that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to have you on the show because I thought it was
Mhm.
a topic that so many pet owners really they get a dog, but nobody's there to tell you anything about grooming when you get a dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe if we go through some of the basics.
Sure. Like kind of how we
Yeah,
start.
somebody gets a new
Yeah.
dog and what do they need to know about grooming? Like,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how far into it you want to go. So I also do have a little bit of confirmation background. I do show, I have Portuguese wire dogs, so I groom my dogs for show. Started getting into that breed a lot, obviously, since that's my breed. But the nice thing is that when you get into a breed and you start in confirmation, you really start to learn where these reputable breeders tie into breeding and what that means to your dog's future. Reputable breeding is where we start. As much as it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with grooming, a lot of what happens to your dog in that first 8 weeks is going to give your dog a good foundation of how they're going to control the rest of their life. I'm very lucky that both my breeders put in a lot of time with my dogs. My first dog that I got, she's 10 now. She's my first dog I got on my own, and she didn't come from the greatest breeder, but she was very transparent, and she did a lot of the puppy culture stuff, so she really did a lot. Though, like, maybe what some things might not be agreed upon. She might be more considered a what we call backyard breeder. At the time, I knew I wanted temperament and longevity, and that's what I got from her, and she was very open about that. But I'm very grateful for the fact that they did put in puppy culture into their day to day with the puppies as they're developing. Puppies hit milestones, breeders introduce things at certain times, which helps the dog be able to withstand stress, to handle just really life as it gets thrown at them. So that first 8 weeks is super crucial. And we do find in the grooming industry that we have a lot of what we call pet dogs. We have our pet dogs and we have our sport dogs and our show dogs or benchline stuff. A lot of our pet dogs is a majority of our clientele. And you can really tell when you get a puppy at the first appointment when they come in, after that second set of shots, which I think is at what, 12 weeks. So generally after, what do they go home at 8? I tell them, yeah, so 12 weeks, they should be able to get that second set. We should be seeing them like basically the week after. You can tell the difference between a dog that has come from a breeder that has put time in, opposed to a dog that comes from a breeder that is just like puppies on the ground. They go out the door. Yeah, maybe they give them lots of loves and snuggles. They grow up in a family environment. But what is the breeder doing with the dogs to help prepare them for life? You can really see a difference. And it's really quite sad too sometimes when you get a 14-week-old puppy in the salon and they're so scared. Even if they've never experienced grooming, they're so scared because they haven't experienced life. And it is really sad. And it does, at our point as groomers, it comes from, we have to make a different approach when we handle those dogs, opposed to having a dog that maybe has a better foundation, right? And the crazy thing is, I could even use this as an example. We have a water dog breeder on the island that every single one of her dogs get buck wild on the ground. And I keep thinking, oh my God, these dogs are going to drag me around the salon and be crazy on the table. Those dogs stand perfectly. They do not move. They're good for the dryers. They're good for the bath. They're good for brushing. They're good for everything because the breeder puts time in that crucial time frame before they go home. That makes it easier for the handlers and the owners to be able to carry on the training going forward. And then considering when we have dogs that come in at 14 weeks and they're scared, when we go through that other fear period, right? That 6 to 8 month fear period, most people will wait until around 5, 6 months before they bring them in for the first time. Now they're hitting a second fear period where they've now haven't experienced much at the breeder, haven't been at the groomer in the time that they needed to. They're coming in at 6 months old and they have their first experience. And no matter what we do, it's like, whoa, this is a lot of overstimulation at once. Just even being in an environment like that can be busy for them. So, really, a lot of stuff to think about when we look at getting a puppy, like things to ask the breeders, like what kind of grooming do you do at home with these guys before they go home? My breeder will, shave faces and bums because our dogs, that's their breed cut. She uses like vibrating toothbrushes and stuff on their faces, on their bodies. She dremels nails right away. Like 4 weeks old, she's doing nails. They all have, feed time in the tub when the dryers are going. So these are all little pieces that now I know, having a dog that maybe didn't come from the greatest breeder the first time. Now I know moving forward, what am I looking for? Because when I got a dog that had all that built in, it's like a world's difference. You're like, wow, you're ready for the world, right? So yeah, I mean, I can't remember where we started with the question, but I always,
That's
yeah,
all really good information for people.
yeah. Well, I just, it's the number one thing I say. Like, I would always ask your breeder when you're thinking about getting a puppy, whether it be a mixed breed, a purebred dog, what kind of grooming socialization are you doing? And let's say it's a breeder you really love and want to go to, and you have your heart committed or heart set on it, and they don't do any grooming socialization. Then we can talk about, like, what do I need to do to prepare myself for when the dog comes home? Because sometimes dogs just get dropped on our lap. You don't know, they could be a rescue dog, whatever it is. What can I do? From day one, we're brushing them, we're using blow dryers around them. The socialization checklist that, like, a lot of people with puppies, I like to send that out. There's used to be a YouTube video that was so good because it was like this cool cartoony that showed like a pie graph of what to do. And a lot of people think socialization is, greeting other dogs, greeting people, but it's environmental, it's textures, it's noises, it's everything that you can expose them to in the periods where they're ready to learn.
Yes.
And then protect them in those fear periods and support. And then when they come out, they're just like as strong as ever. So, yeah.
And just to back up a little bit for a basic point for our pet listeners, so do you recommend grooming at 14 weeks, whether they have fur or hair? Like, do you want to explain the difference between dogs that need to be cut and just groomed? And do you just think exposing both are good, like, regardless?
Depending what you're looking for in your dog. I always say, like with anything, even with training, you're going to have to live with this dog the rest of your life. So you have to decide what's important to you in your foundation right now. If it's important for you to go to a cafe and your dog to be able to sit quietly on the ground next to you, that's something that you want to start right away, right? Like having a really good off switch. So, like for the hair versus fur argument, any dog with hair that's going to need a haircut should be coming in as soon as they get that second set of shots. Normally, what we do with our puppy program is we will do one appointment will just be a introductory. We'll do a bath, we'll do a dry, trim their face and their bum, maybe do their nails. Whatever they can handle is what we approach. After that, depending on how they do, we assess. So we always send homework home with the client as well, things to work on this week. And bathing and drying at home, as much as you think, oh well, bathing and drying, that's a whole thing I have to set aside. Even if you're just blow drying your hair in the morning, puppies in the room, throw a couple treats at them. It's just exposing them to the sound. The same with bathing, running the water, maybe sitting in the tub, throw a couple treats, just little things like that. It doesn't have to be a full thing. So with our hair dogs, we should be doing that at home since day one. With my dogs, even if they got little horse feathers on them, I'm still running a brush over them, making it as positive as possible. With the coated dogs, the double coats, depending on what your, like, once again, what your lifestyle is. So, our dogs, like, I'm trying to think of like a breed that we get a lot of, like this, like we have Dalmatians that come in that clients are just very much into. They just want to do what's best for the dog. They want to give the dog as much exposure, and they want to make sure that down the line they can go to a grooming salon. So, like a Dalmatian who has very little coat and is like a wash off breed, she brings him in every, I think, 12 weeks. And he's done that since he was a baby. And so, things like that, depending on what you want. If you're someone who likes to do it at home, I mean, it's just going to make your life harder if you don't work on it from day one. The other thing is, think about it as a vet perspective. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing in the salon introductory, your vet, you might find a vet that will do that, but there's very few. Most times when you're going to the vet, it's going to be you're going to the vet to get something done. And whether it be a shot or blood or something more serious, think about how many times does your vet, or can you at your vet do introductory sessions before you go? Probably not. They're not going to do that. There
Yeah.
might be a few that will, but they're not going to. So think of grooming as another opportunity to get your dog into a situation where they have to be handled in a calm scenario. And we're not poking them and prodding them, but it gets them comfortable to be in that environment. Like my dogs, though I groom them personally, they've never been to another salon. I can 100% tell you what my dog's going to be like at a salon, or if they go to a vet, what their behavior will be like. And generally, I get good feedback, even though if they're nervous or whatnot, they still know how to be handled.
Yeah.
And so, if you have a dog that's coated, that doesn't need a haircut. If you still want help with how they're going to be handled moving forward in a professional environment, a grooming salon is a great way to do it, especially one that might offer that puppy program. 4 weeks, possible haircut. If not, then you do 4 weeks, take a break during their fear, maybe do another one, and then, maybe once a year after that or whatever it may be.
I wish I talked to you 4.5 years ago. I should have started listening to Sky when she was young.
Yeah, it's hard.
But
And
it's just nice to have as a skill that she could go and be comfortable and do it.
definitely. And I mean, even having little like the cooperative care became really popular. I want to say like maybe 3, 4 years ago, it started kind of popping off a bit more. Actually, maybe 5, because I used to offer puppy playing grooms where clients would come in, the dog would work through cooperative care scenarios, and then they get a little play when they're puppies and they go home. I still groom some of those puppy playing groom dogs, and they're like the best clients,
Oh,
but
that's
also it's not because of me, it's because of them. It's because the client put in the time to manage the dog and to work through expectations with the dog, but also give it positive reinforcement and training in a grooming scenario. So I'm very like grateful for having good clients in that way, and I think a lot of the success is due to their due diligence of keeping it up, right? So
And if
yeah.
people are thinking about getting a dog with
Mm.
hair, a coat that's
Mhm.
going to need to be trimmed, how often will they need to get that cut most likely? Does it
Yeah. So
depend
it just
or?
once again depends on the breed, but generally we say 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks, and depending on the breed, could be up to 90 to $150, looking at every 6 to 8 weeks on rotation. It once again just depends on what you do. I have some clients that come in every 3.5 months, 3 months, and their dog comes in, and it's a probably 45-pound Aussie Doodle, and he comes in with no mats on him. His owners keep the brushing up. They just like to take them short, let them grow out long again. They take them short, let them grow out long again. And he doesn't have one mat on him. So if you want to spread your grooming appointments out, if you put the time in and brush them at home, then
Yeah.
you can let it go longer, right?
And
Yeah.
what do you recommend for tools? Like if you're doing some stuff at home for brushes and combs, and is it a daily thing? Like I know I've board and trained some golden retrievers, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, these things need to be combed out. Like
Yeah, they get sick.
Grippers don't need to be combed out. And I get
Yeah.
I get Golden staying with me, and I'm like, oh my, for me, that's like I would not own a dog that needs to be combed out every day.
Yeah. And a lot of it comes down to, yeah, and
But
so a lot of it comes down to like what their coat condition is, right? So
mhm,
like a golden that has really dense coat,
mhm,
that could be because it's not properly like blown out, and
okay,
like if they did like a good blow bath and blowout, it's gonna last you longer because the coat's not bunching up because it's dirty. And they also have oily coats, so they get all kind of in there. So it's an arm workout trying to
it
get
is
through
an arm
that.
workout, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
kind of recommend like I found like I switched on one of my dogs to a comb because the brush
Hmm.
wasn't really getting everything. And then there's like those
Hmm.
little rake-like combs.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
there's what are some tools for people at home, even for their in between, or if they're just
for
trying to brush
sure.
out their dog with fur? What are
Yeah.
some
So
tools
like,
you use?
yeah. So like fur dogs, a metal comb, metal greyhound comb, you can get them off Amazon for 20 bucks. It'll save you a lot of time. As long as the comb can go straight through the coat, then you're good. And you could use that for both like a coated, like a fur dog and a hair dog. So that's our number one tool. A slicker brush is also really good. Slicker brush will break the coat apart a little bit. But the comb is going to be your trick to get right down to the skin to make sure you're getting right down so there's no bunching, all that thick undercoat. So what happens with like a golden retriever, for instance, if they're quite dirty, their undercoat will shed, like they'll shed because they're a shedding breed. If they're dirty and they have oils in their coat, that's going to bunch together. It's not going to shed freely. So the more impaction you get is generally because the coat is a little bit dirty or maybe not like 100% can breathe. Also, that's where the insulation comes from. If your dog has a fully brushed out coat and there's no impaction, there's insulation, right? So it's going to be able to breathe and keep the dog cool. But if you let that coat bunch up with the oils and don't keep it clean, then it's going to make it hot for the dog because now you have like almost like a wool coat that you've been rubbing together for so long, right? And then with our haired dogs, like our ones that actually need haircuts, the same thing. Brushing them regularly, even though they don't shed, brushing them with a metal comb will help disperse, and with a slicker will help disperse the oils in their coat, which are going to keep a healthier coat. A lot of times matting is due to coat breakage or rubbing, like if they're wearing a harness and the harness is rubbing on their chest, it's going to break the coat and cause matting. That's why we see it in like armpits and behind the ears and on the legs, all the high volume areas that are moving. But a metal comb, even with a puppy, I'd be doing it every single day. 5 minutes, not even. When they start to get older, depending on how long you want the coat, if you do a longer coat, it's going to be a lot more maintenance. If you do a shorter coat, it's going to be a lot less, right? So, but I would say like with my dogs who have like one of mine's in almost show coat, I probably every 4 weeks I will do a bath, a blow dry, and a brush out, and that's it. I don't brush my dogs in between.
Wow.
But having the ability to bath and blow dry them professionally and brush them out stops me from having to do it kind of in between. Of course, if I felt a mat here or there, I could comb it out. But for the most part, I their coats are pretty wash and dry. Granted, that's not every breed. I do have this is I could go on a tangent with this. I have a Portuguese water dog. This is a breed that's been developing for over 100 years. Their coat is very true to their breed, except opposed to when you get a mixed breed. Let's say if you're getting an Aussie Doodle, now you have a hybrid coat. So that coat is not developed to actually be purposeful. You're just mixing two coats together. So now you get a little column A, little column B, and it might be a little bit harder to keep up depending on how much they get of which. Right? If they are a little bit curlier, they're cotton, they get different textures. Their guard coats are like the guard hairs are the hairs that keep the hair straight in poodles. Like, so when you fluff them up and they have that straight, the guard hairs keep that straight. So their guard hairs can be a little bit wild as well. So you're kind of having these weird patchy areas and they can mat quicker if they don't have as much guard. So there's just a whole variable into that.
Yeah,
That's
for
a different case.
different doodles, it can really vary, like depending on what
100%.
people
Yeah.
have. And then I
Hmm.
guess with fur, I mean, Jax was kind of a good example. He had fur. He was my German Shepherd, but his undercoat was so thick, like extraordinarily thick. And if I didn't brush it out, it's like his skin couldn't even breathe.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
guess,
100.
I
Yeah.
mean, people don't think about maybe if their dog has fur, but it's like you could potentially, I guess, even get skin infections and stuff if you're not keeping
Yeah.
the
Well,
undercoat.
that's, yeah, leading for hot spots and stuff. If that gets wet and it gets wet down to the skin and the top dries, now you get bacteria and you get hot spots. That's why Goldens and like those water breeds get them a lot, is it gets underneath that dense coat and then
Yeah,
it can't out, right? And then
exactly.
ends up building up and causing
So it's
infection.
not just aesthetics. It's like there's actually conditions that they can
Practical.
get, not just
Yeah,
matting, but
exactly.
infections and different things that can happen if people
For
aren't
sure.
on it.
Yeah.
Do you clean ears too, or is that not included?
So we do clean ears. We don't. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. They plucking ears is a thing. So Um, Dogs that have fur are going to get the hair inside the
Mhm.
canal. So that hair is actually intended to keep water and bacteria from going into the canal.
Okay.
So you can pluck it out, but once again, because we're getting a lot of hybrid coats, instead of the coat, like I don't know if you could even see it, but like one of my dogs, Knocky, come here, Knock, come here, come. This is a dog I never pluck her ear. She's in the water all the time, and her ear is hairy. Let me just see if I can show it. You can see in the canal, it's quite hairy,
Yeah.
but it is 100% clean and it
Yeah.
breathes.
Wow.
So, and that's once again coming down to coat genetics. When you have a dog that might have a thicker coat, or maybe they're growing more hair in there, now it starts to block too much, and then you have an issue in itself. It can cause bacteria to stay in, or if it's not being cleaned or wiped out with alcohol, or like a what do we call it? Like a witch hazel to dry it out kind of thing. It can cause more bacteria. So ear plucking is when you pull the hair out. I don't recommend doing it. I don't like doing it either to dogs unless I absolutely have to. Also, if their ears are waxy, it bunches up and now you got a little raisinette hanging on to the end of the hair and it ends up being blocking and causing problems. Another issue is because we see a lot more allergies in dogs now. When they have allergies and their ears are gumpy and gooky, and then now they have hair in there and they're not breathing, then you get a whole wealth of problems in general.
Yeah.
They do say that like when you pluck the hair out, you're opening up pores for bacteria to go in. So it's not something I recommend. But the cleaning portion of it, once again, I probably clean my dog's ears. My other one has more issues because of allergies, but I mean, with her, she's just wash and wear. I don't ever touch her ears because you don't want to change the pH in them unless it's necessary.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just,
Good tip.
it's dependent dog to dog for sure.
What about for nails? Like if people are doing some in-betweens at home, do you recommend clipping or Dremel, or it depends on the dog?
I like dremeling. Dremeling,
But
yeah. I find it easier. I find a lot more dogs prefer it. So, and with the 6 to 8 weeks, like yes, we'll cut nails 6 weeks. I do my dog's nails every week. Sometimes every 2 weeks. And they're active, but I like to keep them really nice and short. So we Dremel them every like couple of weeks or so. If for a pet, I would say once a month would be ideal. Once again, health problems come from that. So if you don't Dremel the pet's nails, then now the dog's sitting on the nails, it actually deforms their pad. So they want to have, be able to have their pad flat where the nails are going to push that up, where now you're going to get some more pad deformity. And it's going to cause arthritis in their feet. There's going to be more issues that way long term. With nail clipping, like nail clipping can be quicker. So if you have a dog that's a little bit more skitty, but it can leave them sharp too. So people will be like, "Oh, my legs," and they get scratched from the dog after. So grinding kind of smooths them off.
I also find like with the black nails where it's harder for people to see the quick if it's not
Yeah,
something they're skilled in, then
yeah,
it's, you can go slow and just take the tip.
yeah,
There's less chance you're gonna hurt the dog. So it's easier. You don't need that
exactly.
skill to use the drug.
And yeah. And that's like something in when we talked about a little bit like with the puppy care. When you're working on those skills with your puppy, that your puppy is used to having a Dremel, and then you can save that $20 every week and do it at home,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You're less likely to hit a quick with the Dremel than you are with the clippers.
Yeah.
Also, when you clip nails, the pressure will put strain up their toe. So if it's an older senior dog, it can be painful. So the Dremel, as much as it does still vibrate and cause a little bit of vibration, it can be a little bit easier for them that way too. But
Also,
yeah,
I've had many dogs, even recently, with the dew claws, rip
yeah,
them and tear them. So the
yeah,
shorter people can keep the nails generally,
yes,
always better. And then the more,
yeah,
this year is my year for my goal is to be on the nails because I don't
yeah,
really enjoy doing it, but the more
yeah,
keep them nice and short because the
mhm,
more you trim them, right? Like the quick
yeah,
stays nice and short.
yes. The more you trim them, the more it will be receding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's just a good practice, like you say, 1 week, 2 week, or for pet 4 weeks to just get on
mhm,
it. What do you,
yeah,
how
for
do you
sure.
feel about, do you guys ever use muzzles for certain dogs, like muzzle training dogs?
Yes and no. Like it depends. I think muzzling is very groomer to groomer based. It depends on I think where your tolerance is as a groomer, but also what your I don't even want to say skill level because I know that a lot of very skilled groomers will still use muzzles. I can sometimes still use a muzzle, but it's rare. I'm kind because I've been doing it now, I think for so long, I've been a little bit spoiled in the way that I can be picky about who I take in the way that if I get I'll just use a scenario, a 100-pound German Shepherd that he doesn't like to have his nails cut and he might bite and, all these things, I probably won't take it. My back can't handle that anymore. So I normally will just refer clients to go to the vet. But if it were a case that I was to do a dog like that, I give the dog the benefit of the doubt. There's a lot of safety things you can do as a groomer to make sure that you're not in what we call like the bite zone, and handling to make sure you're not in a bite zone. Unfortunately, there are dogs, like if a dog came in just like, and this is back in the day, if I did do a dog that was like this, like snarling and kind of acting whale-eyely and a little bit skitty about me being in its presence, I might suggest to the client, would you be comfortable with muzzling? If they weren't, then I just wouldn't do the dog. And not to say it's not a good tool to use. I'm all for muzzle training. I train both. I actually did a post a couple years ago about, do you know the dog goggles?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So I did a post about, the dog goggles. Everybody's so into having the dog goggles, but it's abusive to train a muzzle, but they're the same thing. You know what I mean? So training the
Totally.
goggles is the same thing as training a muzzle. It's only because you think it's a bad thing is why it's becoming a bad thing. Both my dogs are muzzle trained. And I've had it in a scenario where I've been at a vet and the tech didn't feel comfortable and she asked if she could muzzle. And I said, whatever you do, you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable, is what I'm comfortable with. I want to make sure that you're calm because your energy is going to feed off on the dog. And that's just how it goes.
Exactly.
Um, so in the case of would we use a muzzle? Yes. Most times we will ask the client. Or if it depends on the groomer.
Yes.
Some groomers will have a smaller bite zone, and that's totally fine because once again, it gives, if you're putting a muzzle on a dog for biting for its nails, it's a small dog, it just might give you a little bit more confidence that the dog's not going to bite you. You can get the job done quicker. But we like to have communication with the client. We're not a salon that will push that kind of stuff. We never push a dog to the point, like we try not to have to push a dog to the point where they're getting flooded and it can no longer be a thing. So we'll just give client options like, okay, this is what's happening today. Would you like us to do X, Y, and Z? And if ever became dangerous for the animal, then we wouldn't do it at all. We
Yeah.
just recommend going to a vet.
For
Yeah.
sure. I mean, because
Yeah.
of the breed I have, my dogs are muzzle trained because I have German
Yeah.
Shepherds, and then
Yeah.
I never used to put it on to trim their nails, but
Hmm.
I had a little accident once because my dog had an infection that I did not know
Yeah.
about.
Hmm.
So now I always muzzle out of
Yeah.
total precaution. But
Yeah.
it depends. It comes down to your dog and what your dog's like.
100%. I mean, it's hard for me to say no because I don't own that breed. I own the
Yeah,
I own the floppy water dogs, right?
yeah,
So our dog isn't notorious to, I mean, there are some water dogs that can be spicy, but I mean for
yeah,
the most part, they're not like handling a
yeah,
shepherd or mal or
exactly.
Eastern body or something like that where they can be a little bit more touchy on handling things.
Yeah.
So
Now,
yeah.
what do you think about people at home training, like to get the dog used to it, like using a lick mat with peanut butter or something? Like, is that a good idea, bad idea?
I'm all for lick mats. I am liking, but I do like that kind of reinforcement for the dog in certain situations. I think that if it's hard. You really have to take it down to what is your goal for this? Are you looking to just get it done? Or are you wanting to solve the problem of why your dog might be doing this? So the just get it done method is basically having a lure or a distraction. And do you know what? If you can hold a lure out, the dog can be comfortable and you can cut all four nails, great. There's no problem with that in my eyes. Personally, I would like my own dog to be able to go into a scenario and be handled regardless without the lure. But I also am okay if someone wants to use a lure because I know they would enjoy it regardless. So when I'm starting a puppy, I try to let them. see the environment, see what we're doing, react appropriately. And then if they're really having a hard time, then we can maybe introduce a lure. But I would use it as a, we stand and release, stand and release. So the lure is your treat that you get after you do, just as you would, you ask a dog to sit, the dog sits. Oh, yes, good. Here comes a cookie, right? So the same thing, maybe we lift a paw, the dog's watching us or listening. I clip a nail. Yes, good job. Now you get to lick the lick mat. My older dog has a really harsh, like still hold because at the vet, she likes to flop on her back. And so I just find it helps the vets being able to manage her a little bit better. And I just hold a treat out and I hold it as a still and she sits and stares at it very intently. And then once they're done what they do, I do a release word. She gets to go take it.
Yeah,
So I
very,
think it's
very good idea.
yeah. So, I mean, I think it just depends what you want. You have to know what you want in order to know what you're going to train or how you're going to manage. With that being said, I have dogs that come into the salon that do just nails trims with me. The owner brings treats and does the whole treat, and the dog's great. And then we send them on their way.
Yeah.
So it works for me, whatever's easiest.
They always on an elevated table then, like regardless of the size?
Um, yes, at my place, yes. Just because I'm not 20 and my back is so ruined. But when I will do dogs on the ground.
So
Um,
getting a dog on a table is really also an exercise people should practice at home. Like
Sure.
whether,
Well, that comes down to socializing.
yeah,
You're at the park. Can your dog jump up on a picnic
yeah.
table? Can
Oh, I
jump
love
on
doing that.
playground equipment? Yeah, like all those things.
Yeah,
And also things that move. Sometimes you can get them on at the park. There'll be like a little wobble board or something. All those little things incorporate into it's not necessary that your dog needs to learn how to get on a grooming table, but what your dog does need to learn how to do is like up onto whatever and feel confident and great about it, because when I get up there, it's so awesome. So
yeah,
and
exactly.
and it's just positive, keep it fun for them, and then when they come in they don't think twice about it. I Our dogs that don't get on the table are the dogs that won't go upstairs, in their house. The owner will be like they can't even do the stairs because they're too scared.
Yeah,
So I mean things like that is normally where we see the transferable behaviors.
yeah.
But our tables do go down low. Our tables go down to almost 6 inches,
Oh,
so it's literally like just a bop up. Yeah.
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 Okay, so for senior dogs or maybe bigger dogs or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And we always like will support with a senior dog as well. So if we're like helping them up, put your hand under their bum or
yeah.
whatever, because we don't want them going off. So
So, I mean, whether it's a puppy or a rescue or an older dog, people can just, it may take longer with some rescues, but just start to socialize in the same way.
yeah.
Like you say, like getting them to
Yeah.
jump up on things,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
pulling your hair dry in the same room where they
Yeah.
are and that kind
Hmm.
of thing. So I hope everyone's going to get their blow dryers out tonight
Yeah, I know, right? I
practicing.
love it. That's the first thing when clients come in and I ask them what they've done and they're like, "Well, I blow dry with my dog." I'm like, "Good, I'm glad." Also with these dogs too, one of the things I find myself saying a lot is if they don't trust you, why would they trust me?
Yeah,
They don't know me. I don't have a relationship with them. They have a relationship with you. And so, with old dogs, rescue dogs, senior dogs, all these things, like, yes, I can use my skill to work around them. But if you don't have some sort of relationship with the dog to be able to be like, hey, yes, you're doing the right thing with treats or having a lick mat and support and comfort, they're going to have a harder time. So, those are things to think about too, is if you get a dog, like just socializing them in the environment, but also doing it with them to know that you are there for them because you are their person, right? They're their thing. You're the person that they're going to look up to, right? When things are getting a little bit weird
yeah.
and they're looking for direction, right?
Do you have any tips for shepherds are bad for this? Dogs with high prey drive that at bath time when they see the water, it's a big game of chomp chomp
Yeah.
chomping the water.
Yeah.
Any good training tips for that?
It's called don't let them. I think in a controlled environment, it can be same with the dryer. Same thing happens with the dryer. They'll chomp at the dryer. I find most times, like when they're with us, if they do it once and I just have to turn their head
Mm,
and they're like, oh, okay. I
yeah,
also don't like hold the hose back and spray it in front of them.
yeah.
I would
Like
maybe
up
start back.
close.
Yeah, I maybe start at the back end and have it right against the coat and then start that way and lots of praise and
The hair
no,
salon when they
yes,
love your hair.
work your way up to the top. Same with the dryer. The dryer, you turn it on, having it on the back legs first, start
Mm,
working your
okay,
way up.
that's a good
They
tip.
start trying to turn their head. We have leads on them, so we normally will just I'll just use my hand and hold the like by the neck. I'll just hold the neck straight. And if they're like I haven't even had it where they've been so aggressive. Like I think once in my years of career of grooming have I had a dog go too far with it. But for the most part, they will just kind of be like, "Oh, I can't," because they think it's fun, right? It's fun for them. So if it's no longer fun for them because someone's saying you can't do it, plus they're on a table or in a tub,
Yes.
they're like, "Oh, okay." Opposed to if you're like at your house holding onto a leash, trying to hose them at the same time, and they're running around, it's going to be a hot mess, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a controlled environment. So
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Is there any other training tips you want to give specifically to grooming that you can think of that we didn't?
no, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I feel like there's so many tangents
Mhm.
because I am involved in both worlds.
Yeah.
I see both sides of it. And like I said, our business, like my business, I really base it on like the skills that the dog can have in order to be able to be successful. But also the clients are the number one triggers of it, right? Like having a really good relationship with your groomer or vet or pet care provider is so important. I have a little Pyrenean Shepherd that he started coming to me. His mom was amazing, brought him in just baby. He's been coming to me every 4 weeks since he was a baby. That little stink, he would probably tell another groomer what, but he knows me, he trusts me, we have a relationship. The owner and I, can talk. The dog like comes, he's excited, he's jumping on me. And I love the dog. Even though he can be a little turd. I have a relationship with this dog now that like if he got picked up and put in another salon, he'd probably get turned away, you know? And it's not to say that he doesn't have good skills. He does. It's just his breed. His breed's a little bit more of a stubborn breed that kind of needs to have a little bit more direction.
Yeah.
And to have acknowledgement of that as a groomer too, knowing your breeds, knowing what triggers them, what doesn't trigger them, having a relationship with your client so you can talk about things after and the client can work on things. And I'm so grateful for those relationships because I love that little dog and the client's amazing. And now we can go ahead and have a good relationship moving forward. And not the other thing too is like having that relationship allows like the groomer or the vet to have some I think at least a little bit more like empathy towards your life as a handler owner, what's going on in your life, and it kind of makes us a part of your family, which and makes it easier once again to go out of our way to do the extra steps because we feel like we're getting treated with respect and we're being treated well. Because I'll tell you, we get a lot of clients that treat, not a lot anymore, but there are a lot of people out there that treat grooming like a drive-through service. They think it's your job to groom my dog. It's your job to do the dog's nails, but we don't see it like that, right? Like we love these dogs. A lot of them I've been grooming for 16, 17 years. Some families I'm on their second dog, and I'm so grateful for those relationships. And I'm proud to say that like our business really bases it off of that. And it's not for everyone. Not everybody wants to know my business, but you know what? They're going to hear it when they get in the salon. I got to tell them everything. So yeah,
I love
but
that.
I want to hear theirs too. So
Are you
yeah.
taking new customers or are you pretty much full or if people want to find
Not at the moment. Like I think it's kind of odd, like hit or miss what we're taking. But for the most part, no, we're not taking new clients. But we always recommend, like, if you are looking to get in with us, to just shoot us a text, let us know your story. We can put you on a wait list, and if something comes up and we feel like we have the right time or groomer for you, then we can go from there. But for the most part, it's yeah. Right now, we're pretty booked.
And if
Yeah.
someone that people could be listening to this from anywhere, so if they're looking for a groomer, what are some things they can ask to find a good groomer?
Yeah, definitely. So, let me think. Trying to think of things that like what I would look for. So I would like to know what their due diligence was. Like if you went as a puppy, what would be like their puppy protocol? So are they, oh yeah, we'll book you in, we'll bring the dog in, give them a haircut first time, and yep, we're good to go. We'll sign you up. I would like a little bit more communication. So like if I was taking my dog to a salon for the first time, I would like to say like, okay, I'm going to book Fluffy in. And if the groomer is like, okay, awesome. How old is Fluffy? Has he had experience at the salon before? What have you guys been doing at home? You know, asking a groomer that asks questions to get to know what your dog's history is, I think is like a good green flag. But also it allows them to kind of do a process of, will this dog be the right fit for me? And it just, with that being said, like senior dogs, for instance, I'm not a senior dog groomer. I'm not good with senior dogs because I groom in a routine. Senior dogs need a little bit more flexibility on routine, but because that's just not how I groom, I do have some senior clients that we work together with our system. But when it's a new senior client, they really need someone who's willing to do like a leg, then maybe a face, then maybe the bum, then maybe a foot, then maybe one nail, where that's just not how I work. So I know for myself personally, if I had that, I would be honest with the client, not for me, but hey, you know what? I have a girl that really rocks with senior dogs. We'd love to try to book them in with her and then go from there. And then with that being said, when your groomer, listen to your groomer, if they say, and they're open with you and they say, hey, like, this dog seems like he'd be really good for this groomer,
Yeah.
trust them, believe them, because they have the experience. We know body language, we know character, we know breeds. So when we see things and we're like, I think this will be best for this groomer, we're not saying that because we're just like, oh yeah, Suzanne can do it. We're saying it because that groomer is good with seniors and we know she'll work well because her grooming style works well with seniors. So like when I'm looking for a groomer, I want a groomer who's going to ask questions, who's going to be very open about what their process is in the salon.
Okay.
I also wouldn't, if I went to a groomer and they wouldn't let me, if I said to them, can I see the back? Or if it was like our salon's full open base, you could stand in our front door and you can see everything that happens. I wouldn't let my dog go into a place where I couldn't see where they were going.
Yeah. I feel that
And
way about boarding kennels.
yes. So I personally, that's just my experience from other salons that I have worked at over the years. Not all groomers, I think the industry is better now, but back in the day, when I first started, not all groomers were as trustworthy because it was very much that old school style of even training.
Mhm.
And so with that, I want to know exactly where my dog's going to be at this time and what's going to happen with my dog when they're in your care. And you can be nice about it. You don't have to be like, let me see your back, but you can just be like, oh,
Exactly.
hey, I was just wondering, like, where do you guys bath the dogs? Is it possible for me to like have a little peek? Or
Exactly.
and also groomers are busy.
Mhm.
If you wanted to arrange something like that, the best thing you can say, I have no problem paying for an extra hour of your time at the end of your day, or an hour. I will book an appointment time that works for you. So I can just come and meet you, see you, let my dog meet you, and you pay for that time. That to us is just its weight in gold. Like clients like that are the ones that we're like, yeah, come here, because we know that they appreciate us and we know that they're going to like appreciate us moving forward as well. They're going to listen to our expertise and they're also going to be willing to build a relationship. So,
Exactly. And I think
yeah.
another red flag, just because it's the same with training,
Yep.
food, whatever, is the
Mhm.
cheapest is maybe a bit of a red flag. Don't
Yeah.
go for like the bargain price. Not that you also don't have to pay the most either, but
Yeah.
the bargain price is
Yeah.
probably a red flag.
Sometimes I actually saw this recently where there was a young groomer coming up and she had posted her pricing. I thought, oh my gosh, how is she even, like, gas wouldn't even cover that if you were traveling and doing that. So things like that I would question for sure, because overhead for grooming, it's not overly high, but you are, when you see a high price tag, most times you are paying for their expertise. Like at our salon, I feel like we base our pricing off of what our experience is, but also what quality of cuts you're getting. I have both conformation groomers and pet groomers in my salon, and we're all learning. Everybody is still learning. Someone could plop a poodle in my lap and be like, hey, can you do this, this beautiful continental cut or something? I would be like, that's not my breed. I could do my best, but being honest about it. But I would love to learn. I think a salon that's willing to be progressive and learn is also a good red flag, or sorry, good green flag as well. And even a Portuguese water dog. When I first started in this breed, my grooms definitely evolved over the last 10 years. They used to start off very one way, now they're a very different way. So yeah, that would be a green flag for sure.
There's also like the mobile units, which seem good for dogs that maybe don't want to go far from home, a little more nervous. That is just same
Yeah,
treating them the way you would anybody else,
yeah.
and
I mean,
rating
I love, yeah.
preferences, reviews
Mhm.
online, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I think, yeah. And
Reviews.
I mean, when you look at your reviews too, something that I like to consider is like, what is the salon saying in return?
Hmm.
Because we have had a lot of situations where, groomers may or clients maybe thought that like our practices were unfair. But I feel like because we're very communicative in like what our expectations are, it's easy for us to say like, I'm really sorry it didn't work out. Like this is kind of how we had laid it out, and we're just not for everyone, and that's totally fine. Yeah, and it's not like we're expecting a lot. We just want to have communication.
Exactly.
Like we want to know that, you're working at it at home too to try to make the dog's life better. Because it does come down to that, yeah.
Nice. Grooming is a huge topic. I had no idea. We could go on about this for days.
Yeah, you
I wanted to touch base on a little bit of your training because you offer some really amazing different programs for training as well. So if you want to talk about some of your rally and barn hunt and the stuff that you offer.
sure. Yeah, I mean all my side gigs.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
okay, so let's think. So I mean, I do a little bit of everything. I compete in everything. So that's kind of where I love grooming, but I also love the side of grooming that offers that training aspect of like looking at a dog, seeing behavior and understanding what's happening with that dog. And a lot of the training stuff I do, just behavior training and everything, not behavioral training, but training in sport behavior, right? I find it really cool to dabble in. We do on our property, we do south or in our South Sumas property, we do barn hunt. We also will do happy ratters, which is like another variant of barn hunt. I do a little bit of rally classes here and there. I'll dabble in. Those just kind of are here and there though. We compete in working rally. So the Caro working rally and Caro rally, getting that started up last year and getting more people out to enjoy that. Um, I feel like a lot of the sports that I do here are more entry level for clients that are pet people, maybe looking to get into doing stuff. What I love about things like barn hunt is that it doesn't take very much on the handler end to be able to run your dog in barn hunt until you start competing. So your dog can come and just have fun. And that's same with Happy Ratters. It's really fun and the community is really great and super welcoming. But yeah, and then I obviously have water dogs, so I train Portuguese water dogs for water trials, and we have classes that do that with our water dogs specifically. And I travel for that and do clinics for that too, which is really cool. This started happening last year, and I'm so grateful to be able to do that because I just love it so much. So it's really fun.
I love that because I love seeing my pet clients kind of go over into the sports side. So
Yeah,
those
it's
entry
awesome.
level, like doing the barn hunt and the entry level happy
Hmm.
rodders,
Yeah,
or the rally, it's such a
yeah,
great way for them to get in. Because I
hmm,
find most people, everybody, all of my pet clients who have tried it, that like
hmm,
entry level sport,
yeah,
they get hooked. Like I've never had
yeah.
anyone be like, "No, I don't like
I
it."
like it. Yeah,
Everybody
exactly.
just gets
No.
hooked, and we've done your
Yeah.
barn hunt, and it's so much fun. It's just
Mhm.
a fun night. You can find a friend who also has a dog and bring them out. And so, how can people? Well, we'll have some links in here, so we'll have some links. So if people are interested in checking that out or want to
Yeah,
sign up,
definitely.
then they
Yeah,
can do that.
yeah,
But what about so with your dogs? You compete in water sport.
yes.
Do you want to just tell people a little bit? Because I'm
Sure.
just interested
Yeah.
myself because I don't
Yeah.
know what water sport is, but it sounds really awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. So our Portuguese water dogs are like bred for being a fisherman's companion, but also a working dog. So, our dog, like our Portuguese water dog, is in the working group. That means they're alongside, the Rottweiler, the Doberman. They're in there with the Sammies, the Great Danes, all the Guardian kind of big guys, the Bernies. So it's cool to see the little dinky water dog sitting alongside all these big, burly working dogs, right? These are all dogs that would have a job, right? So our dog would be the fisherman's dog. They would go from boat to boat carrying letters. They would go out and get
Wow,
fishing lines. They would herd fish into nets. They would retrieve like buoys or traps, anything like that in the water would all be done by these
that's
dogs.
very cool.
So what our trials are basically to emulate what they would be doing in their natural history, like what they would be doing. So we have a series of tests that are very similar to field trials, but in water. So they start at a junior, they go up to a master's. And it's just it's a pass or fail, and it's normally 5 exercises per test, and it's variance on whatever level you're in. And it's just really fun. It's really cool to see these dogs, be able to do what they're genetically made to do. My one girl came from more of a sport line and a sport breeder. And so, at 9 weeks old on a paddleboard in the middle of winter, she saw a buoy floating in the water and she was like, bye.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, this is something I have to watch now. So it's pretty crazy. Just as a dog would be, a terrier would be to rats. These dogs are natural retrievers. They're swimmers. They want to be in the water and they want to work. That's what they don't like walking. Like my dog's taking them for a hike sometimes is like, I would rather die. So, but taking them out and doing, 10 minutes of brain activity or brain work, they're like, yeah, we love this. So, yeah, it's really cool. I'm very lucky to be able to do it. And they work off boats. So we have little rowboats, like
That's
12-foot
very cool.
rowboats. Yeah. So
You're
they
making
jump
me
off
want to do
boats.
water sport.
I know everybody's don't want a water dog. It's cool. Yeah, they jump off and they do retrieves off boats and they go swim boat to boat and take. We have like little like things that emulate like the letters. Yeah, it's really quite neat.
That
And
is really neat. So
mhm,
what are some other traits for a Portuguese water dog? Because I don't think, I mean, a lot of the things I see with pet clients is people just get the wrong dog. So
yeah.
what kind of homes do you think they would thrive in? Because it's not for everybody, obviously.
No, like I think it's hard because what happens is, and I love this, I do really love this, that a lot of people are becoming more knowledgeable about breeding and where to look for when they're looking for dogs. And so because people will lean towards getting these doodle kind of clients or doodle kind of dogs, is because they don't shed. And they're supposed to be really good family dogs, and they're supposed to be really like easygoing in the environment, and like in their house and really like chill. So that was where the hit kind of came from with these breeds. But then over the last few years, I feel like more people are becoming educated on like backyard breeding purposes and noticing like, oh, well, maybe this isn't so great. Not to get me wrong, I've seen some doodles from doodle breeders that are amazing. The breeders put in 100% on the dogs. The puppies come out, they're great. Every single puppy I groom of theirs, they're awesome. There are some breeders that are trying,
I see,
but
I
there's
see.
a lot.
Yeah, I see
Sorry.
the ones that don't come out so well. The
Yes,
striking
there's and
aggressive
unfortunately,
ones and
yeah.
the crazy ones.
Yes, in 2020 it became because everybody wanted a COVID puppy. They really like shot off then. And so a lot of those COVID 2020 maybe mixed breeds tended to be a little bit more crazy and harder to work with.
Yeah.
But also like given they don't really have much they can do, they're stuck at home. So with our water dogs, though, a lot of people will now be looking into the water dog because they're also a very, cute, shaggy, teddy bear looking, non-shedding breed. And so with that, though, comes research. I always say, do your research and look into what you're getting, because these are a working dog. They need to be mentally stimulated, but they also need to have a job. And so if you don't give them a job, they will find a job. And that job is going to be something you don't want them to do. And so with these guys, they can be really chill. They can have a really great off switch, but they have to have their needs met. And that's like most breeds. When you meet the dog's needs, you have dogs that, like both my dogs, are just chilling right now and they're just laying around. So, if you can put that time into them to be able to meet their needs, then yes, they can be a really wonderful dog to live with. If you don't put that time in, you're going to end up with a spring on the end of a leash that also has a bitey end.
Yeah.
Um, they're a mouthy breed. A lot of people don't realize that. I think one of the number one things I see on our water dog page is, oh, my 9 week old, 10 week old puppy is biting me. What do I do? They're a retrieving breed. They want things in their mouth, right?
Mhm.
So, redirection, giving them something to do, giving them like outlets is what they really do need. So they're a breed that you have to manage more than I think you would have to maybe I'm trying to think of like another like coded breed that might be a little bit less, but I think it just depends where you get them to. And also breeder wise, if you want this is like where it could be an hour long thing or
Yeah.
2 hour long thing.
Yes.
When you're looking at a Portuguese water dog breeder, communicate with your breeder. I am looking for a dog that's going to have a good off switch, that's good for my family of whatever. I have maybe kids that are 10, 11, and 12, and they are looking for their next dog. We're active because we like to go for walks and hike, but we also want a good off switch. So, talking to your breeder and explaining things that you're looking for in a dog, I think are like a nice way to kind of put it out there. So, when they're doing their puppy placements, they have the puppies in the litter that are going to be a little bit higher drive than they have the puppies that are going to be a little bit more chill. So when it comes to puppy placements, you shouldn't get to pick. Your breeder should pick for you. You can probably make a request if you want a male or female, I think, at the most part, but you shouldn't get to pick your puppy. Your breeder will be like, this dog is going to be the dog that's going to hang out with you at the patio and be super chill and love to go for walks. He loves people, and you believe them and trust them because they know best. They've known this breed for long enough. They know what to look for to make sure that your house is suitable for them. But I think doing your research, talking to different breeders, and just knowing going in that they do need a lot of mental stimulation. Like I said, they don't like to, sorry, someone's texting me. They don't like to go for like long runs.
Mhm.
They want to do work.
Mhm.
And that could be even hiding treats around your house and letting them sniff treats out for 20 minutes or 10 minutes. That might be enough for that day. But for the most part, they do need to have something more. They want to train, they want to learn, they want to work. Yeah. And swim. Yeah. I mean, some of them don't like swimming. Yeah. Some of them don't. So it depends on the dog. And once again, what you expose them to at a young age, right? Yeah. So yeah, my older dog goes in the water. I'm like, my older dog who's like got her masters and is just kind of piddling around now. When she goes into the water, she's like, it's cold, where the other one just charges in. But I love it because it, like, when I talk to people and train people, they for water dog stuff, they're like, well, my dog isn't like super enthusiastic. I'm like, my dog isn't either, but because you can build such a fun relationship around the activity,
Yeah.
the little things that they might not like about it, like for her might be swimming, she just finds so much enjoyment in everything else that the swimming is just second part now, right? So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I won't take up any of your time today anymore, but
Oh, no
I
worries.
hope some people really got a lot of value out of the grooming. So I think we touched on a lot of different topics there.
I hope so. I don't remember what we talked about, so I'm
Okay.
hoping it
And
is
I'm gonna
something
I'll
good.
include some links and some reference
Yeah.
stuff that we touched on so people can take a look.
Yeah. Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, we could have a part two here. There's so much to talk about,
Oh, God, yeah.
but thank you so much. If there's anything else you want to add before we sign off, a last. Oh, you know what? The one thing I want, this is what we'll sign off on. It's back to
Yeah.
grooming though. I was
Yeah,
thinking,
that's good.
what about like if somebody is young and not
Mhm.
even young, they could be old. It doesn't matter. I don't know why I said that.
Anything.
But what
Yeah.
if someone wants to start a career in grooming? What
Yeah.
do you
That's awesome.
think is the best way? Like, how should they start getting involved in
For
that?
sure. So grooming doesn't have like they do have like the Canadian Grooming Association that you can do your certificates through.
Okay.
But there isn't really like a collective unit of like schooling practicum for grooming.
Really? Okay.
No, so it's like it's not like you can go and do a college whatever and do your grooming thing out there. Or like a trade school. But my recommendation is find a salon that you have the same ideals with, um and do an apprenticeship or get a bathing job. Bathing dogs and being a groomer's bather, you're going to learn
That's
so
exciting.
much with that alone. And then you'll get an idea if this is the career for me.
Yes, that's a
If
great
you can
idea.
handle that, there's a lot of wonderful things about grooming, but I have to say, when you get started in the beginning, it is a hard job. Like, it's not only physical, but you do have days where you question whether you can do this because you have a dog that you love that is, not doing well. And maybe the client is not quite ready to, let them go. And you're watching the dog not well. And so things like that can be really difficult. And I get it. I understand why everybody can go through their own journey, but it's not for everybody in that
Mhm.
case.
Yeah,
I think vets deal with the same kind of,
definitely.
like, vet techs and
And
vets can deal
trainers
with,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
can do the same kind of stuff where you become emotionally entangled a little bit with the dogs
Yeah.
because you really truly love them and you want what's best for them. So that can be hard. But I mean, for the most part, finding a salon that you agree with, or like that works the same vibe as you, and then getting on as a bather. And then there are a couple grooming schools. There's one in Surrey. I think that I don't know if there's another one on the island, but finding a grooming school that does hands-on training,
Yes.
you can't learn to groom a dog over the
No.
internet.
No.
I'm sorry, you
Yeah,
can't.
no.
I just like, I can't. People will be like, I finished my online grooming, but I've never groomed before. I'm like, you're wild. You need to have hands-on experience, but not only just with dogs, but with like I was gonna say trainers with groomers with experience.
Mhm.
You will learn so much from your peers. I have been grooming, like I said, for almost like 19 years now. I still learn from every associate that I hire, every groomer that I hire in my salon, doesn't matter what experience level they are. If they've only been grooming 3 years, I will learn something from them. And so you really will learn from your coworkers and your environment more than you're going to learn from online. And then from there, like depending on where you want to go with your grooming, there's a wonderful grooming salon out in Chilliwack that does a lot of show grooming, but also does competition grooming. And the groomer that runs it's absolutely phenomenal. And she's a really good groomer and trainer, like for grooming. So, like things like that, if you want to get into more competition or more confirmation grooming, look for a salon that offers those skills. You know, our salon would be we're mainly pet grooming. Yes, we do the odd breed trims, but we do more pet based salons. But I feel like we are more of a training based salon. So, if you're looking for, gaining skills in that way of handling and training, then that's going to be a different kind of scenario on where you're wanting to go for your route. But yeah, I mean, definitely getting as a bather though is like number one. Because I want to say like 9 out of 10 do it for a week and they're like, not for me.
Yeah, no, that's an
Yeah.
excellent way to start. I love it. That is a good way to end this. So, yeah, so we will sign off and thank you so
Oh,
much.
good.
And I hope
Yeah.
you
Thank
help
you.
lots of people out there.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Okay,
All right.
thanks.
All
Bye.
right. Take care. Bye bye.